It's the week after the pay-per-view, so obviously the thing on everybody's mind is MJF and Regal. What the fuck happened? How are they going to explain this? What's going to be said? What's going to go on? So, because MJF was legitimately, apparently from what we understand, on the movie set, he's Lance Von Erich in the Claw. MJF wasn't there. They showed the VTR at the top of the program of him winning and how Regal passed him the knucks. And then here comes William Regal. And he comes out, and it was classic heel Regal from the start. And this was the best thing that they could put on the opening of the program when they theoretically have the most viewers. And Regal is just, he's great. I mean, he has the shit-sniffing face and the condescending attitude. And the crowd was into their, fuck you, Regal. And I don't know if you played George Carlin's 7 Dirty Words routine on a fucking loop, if I've ever heard the word fuck on any type of television network as much as I've heard it on TBS over the last few weeks with the fans who are determined to get them kicked off television. But nevertheless, he basically says that he sent an email to MJF, and MJF is going to be there next week on TV to explain it all. It all stems from an email that he sent to MJF, and MJF's going to be there next week to explain it all. And of course, the people boo that. But then here comes Moxley, and the music, and the walk through the crowd, and he's taking his time. And as soon as he gets in the ring, he's going to go for Regal, but Danielson from the other side comes through and stops Moxley. And they start shoving each other. And Danielson's thing is, now wait a minute, you've done bad things too. Please, please, he's got a bad neck, 2 brain bleeds, don't hurt him. And I know that somewhere, either Tony is convinced or the Blackpool Combat Club is convinced that this is gripping television. But basically what happened was Regal stands there. He doesn't back up because he's the heel and he's just fucked the world champion out of the title. And he can't be touched or it'd take all the heat off of him. And at the same time, he shouldn't run from the guy, but the guy's the mad ex-world champion, so he should kind of run, except Danielson, Moxley's friend and partner, loves William Regal and is talking Moxley out of beating up William Regal and slapped Moxley and then said, I'm sorry. And the story of why Danielson is trying to tell Moxley not to hurt William Regal is because when Danielson actually said, when my father had your struggles, I guess with alcohol or whatever, that was not stated, the only person who could teach me was this man, pointing to Regal. I was able to love my father because of this man. And the crowd starts chanting bullshit. And actually, I wanted to join them. And Danielson says, I love William Regal. And so Moxley, his cold black heart was touched by this. And he says to Regal, Moxley does, I only want one thing from you. I want you to run. Oh, Regal doesn't make any goddamn move at all. And then he says, far away and never come back. Walk and keep on. So what is it? Is it walk or run? First it was run, then walk. And finally, Regal backed out and slowly walked away. So what they did in this segment was they took some of Regal's heat away, they buried Moxley, and they turned Danielson heel. Explain to me how that this couldn't have been done by having Moxley and Regal on VTR from the movie set or wherever, saying, hey, we're on a movie set and we're going to be back next week to explain this. And then have Moxley come out and cut a promo saying, I'm going to kill William Regal when I see him, and have Danielson come out and stop him with the same story, if you've got to tell that story, because then Moxley's not standing there with his dick in his hand while Regal's standing there not running or doing anything. And Danielson doesn't have to tell this story that didn't get over with the people to begin with, while the guy they want to see get his ass kicked is standing there in the ring. I mean, did everybody look like a putz here in some respect or another?
Absolutely. It made no sense. None of this makes any sense. And I actually, and maybe I'm wrong, and we'll see this week, we'll find out this week, there's a chance that was the last appearance of William Regal in AEW. I know that sounds crazy, but there's a chance of that. He's going back to WWE. If that was the soft exit they gave him to appease his friends like Moxley and himself, then fuck all of them. Because that was bad TV, it made no sense, and it furthers nothing. Now, if it leads to him coming out next week with MJF, and they do something other than something with Moxley, it'd be great. But Moxley has to get even with Steven Regal or William Regal. I mean, the booking of this whole thing makes no sense. That's why I kind of think it feels like some sort of soft exit that was thrown together at the last minute. It doesn't feel, it makes no sense.
Well,
whether MJF's there or not.
Solomon Grundy and I, last week, I believe it was, on one of the programs we did without you, we were talking about Triple H and Regal had been close for years, and Regal had all kinds of responsibility in Triple H's NXT and anything he's had anything to do with, and now Triple H is on a spree bringing back everybody that was let go by his father-in-law, and you can't tell me that he wouldn't want Regal, whether he could have him or not. You can't tell me you don't want him back. And we were talking about, Brian Solomon and I were talking about, well, how long was his contract? Was it, he came in about a year ago, was it a year? Was it longer? Or potentially, is he wanting to get let out of it? Who knows? But now that they've done this, they've got an opportunity to have Regal, who's got heat with these people, get even more heat on MJF. But if this was, okay, you've served your purpose, but we know where you want to go, so we'll just let Moxley scare you off.
How does that help MJF in any way? How does it help Danielson in any way?
It doesn't. Danielson looks like a fucking putz for coming out and taking up for the guy that everybody wants to see get the shit kicked out of him. Moxley nobody should touch Regal yet. That's why you shouldn't have had the situation where Moxley had the ability to touch him if he'd have wanted to, till Danielson talked him out of it. And I just the whole fucking thing.
Where were Claudio and Yuta?
Yeah, where was Useless?
They've been a part of every single segment. All of a sudden, they're not involved with William Regal now?
You've got a scary track record, Brian, is all I'm going to say, of being right lately. And so if you are on this one, but there could be something good here. But if Regal's decided he wants to go back to the promised land and get out of Romper Room, that would be a way out.
Hey, if Moxley's mad at Regal and he's going to confront him in the ring, how about you come out without your fucking music and your whole entrance? How about you show that you're mad instead of you show that you're going to do the same fucking promo you always do?
No, because it would kill his whole career if he didn't play Wild Thing and come out through the people.
The best is, remember when they didn't get the right Wild Thing and they had the Trogs, the original version everyone loves, and Moxley's in the ring while there's a flute solo? Nothing will ever beat that. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? It feels like coming out of that pay-per-view, if MJF was not going to be there, out of all the things they could have done, this is the one that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, you dice it, it doesn't make sense. What happened here with Regal and Moxley.
Well, nevertheless, we'll find out more next week.